Welcome to the DFL Breakdown, presented by GrizLeeGear, with your hosts, Lucas Ford and Ricky Epperson.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the DFL Breakdown, the #1 cartoon side character themed, league-specific, weekly fantasy football podcast in the world. We're back after week 1. We had some amazing football. It's finally back, and we got some fantasy football in our veins. Some wins, some losses were had by all, some good times, and some really, really bad times. I'm excited to break it all down, of course, joined by my co-host, Ricky. How are you doing today, man?
I'm great. It's football time. Let's go. The NFL games were great. KC Baltimore, Detroit Rams, everything was great. Great watching, great viewing, great fantasy football. Things are not as all what they seemed, and they never are. And I'm excited to get into that.
Well, we did have some questions answered. We had some fun in the league. We've introduced divisions this year, so that's adding an extra twist to everyone's matchups. A little more flavor than anything else. It's not really going to affect the standings or the schedule or much anything at all, but we just like to break everything down and just have a little fun with it. So without further ado, we have to get back into our one of my favorite segments that we have, the Game Breaker segment, and break down one of our top performers of the week. So let's get into it here.
I'm coming! Here I come! Game Breaker.
All right, we had a few really high performances out of a few key guys here. Josh Allen was fantastic. Saquon Barkley was good. We even had a massive kicking game from Jake Moody, but one player propelled one of the team owners into victory here, and that was Jayden Reed. In a close matchup against Alex, Jayden Reed was really the difference for Corey here, scoring 33 points. And it was in that Friday game, we all got to see him in prime time just break off a couple massive touchdowns and get a lot of manufactured looks. What do you think about Jayden Reed's week 1?
Yeah, I mean, he's fast as fuck. He runs around. He's fast as hell. He's a great guy. The wide receivers for Green Bay, they all had question marks around them. It dinged all their draft prices. If Jayden Reed was the bona fide wide receiver 1 for the team, I think he would have went in like the first 2 rounds. He might have went in the 3rd or 4th. I'm not sure where Corey took him in this league. But that's typically where he goes kind of later because there's a question mark. Is he the guy? Is he not the guy? Turns out for week 1, he is the guy. They have packages put together for him. He's reliable. He's efficient. He can find the end zone. You know, all around, great pick, great value. If Jayden Reed can continue to deliver performances like this, it's good news for the Dogs.
Yeah, he may struggle a little bit with Malik Willis coming in to be the quarterback while Jordan Love deals with that knee injury. But if he can continue to get a lot of those manufactured looks and volume like this, and if he gets the ball in space, he's apt to take it to the house. So great performance out of Jayden Reed, our game breaker for week 1 of 2024. That brings us straight into our matchup here that we talked about, Corey versus Alex. So let's move into our score summary here, and we can talk about that matchup a little more.
Score summary.
Right, we have the Dogs versus the AZ 69ers. The Dogs did come out on top, 129-108, a 21-point margin there. So, like I was saying, getting 33 points out of your flex spot, a huge, massive part of that win. Literally 21 more points than projected in a matchup where Corey won by 21 points. So all of the difference there. And this wasn't a great matchup for either of these teams here. In fact, this was
Wet Noodle Fight of the Week.
for week one. These both missed the median, and it wasn't a lot to be proud of here. But Corey did manage to come out on top with the win. Jahmyr Gibbs did produce for him. George Pickens was still good for him as well. But a lot of red in trying to meet projections there. Micah Parsons had a fantastic game on the Dallas defense, but not much else for him there. And then, the knife, the salt in the wounds there was Puka Nacua getting injured as well. And it looks like he's going to be out for a long time here, possibly even more than the 4 weeks that the IR suggests for a minimum. What do you think about what's going on with Corey's team?
This is an upset victory. He was going into the week not the favorite. He might have made some moves to kind of close the gap, but I thought it was fairly significant going into the week. But yeah, he didn't beat his weekly projections by too much. So he did just about what he was expecting to do. And I think the story is really on the other side, the 69ers failing to meet their projections. These are all guys that Alex got at value throughout the draft, names that people were kind of passing by. He was just collecting value with his cheat sheet. And I think there's promise for a lot of these guys. I think, it came down to game script for a couple of guys, and it's hard to kind of nail down the week one game script. But, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys just kind of winning on defense and special teams is not something you can really factor in. Maybe winning on defense a bit, but 32-point game here from Dak Prescott doesn't seem too crazy, and all of a sudden he's right there with Corey. 35 points and he's 2-0. It could have all been done with Dak Prescott, I guess is what I'm really getting at. Or if any of his other, teammates managed to, a couple more touchdowns, and all of a sudden we're real close here. So it was close, just under the median for the Dogs, and farther still for the 69ers, but a weak showing from the strongest division in the league so far, with a couple of median misses.
Yeah, definitely not the way you want to open the season there. Like we were saying, this is a division filled with people who are used to winning in the Dimmadome. We've got 3 of our former champions, and Corey, who's made a few runs of many, many wins and seems to always make his way into the playoffs. So a big powerhouse division here, faltering in week one and not getting those median wins. Let's talk about moving on from the Dogs and the 69ers into I'm Ron Burgundy and Women in the Kitchen. They had a matchup where they also, like I said, didn't quite make the median. It was a lot closer than the other two. But Nate did come out on top with the win here. It wasn't due to Jared Goff outperforming or being the dome god that he's been titled here, only putting up 13 points there, but he did make up for it with a great performance from James Conner, nicknamed I'm sure because he's a workhorse running back here, and he's also got Nico Collins getting those long bombs from CJ Stroud, and got a good average performance out of his kicker, and TJ Watt went absolutely nuts for him there and on Kirk Cousins all day. In the game where the new nightmare is supposed to show out, it was a 12 o'clock game, and he still just absolutely pounded him there. So big parts of Nate's victory there, but Chris didn't suffer the same fate here. What do you think about what happened with Chris's team?
Yeah, I mean, it's a letdown from Joe Burrow for sure. 7 points in a game, in a matchup that was decided by like 7 points, right?
6.
6. Yeah, I mean, you definitely should have expected double digits here from Joe Burrow. 15 points, that would have been great. Maybe on the other side, you could argue that Jamar Chase would be catching some of those, and it's kind of a losing battle in that regard. But then you're just looking at Drake London and George Kittle and saying, "Hey, where are my points, guys? Where's the George Kittle 40-yard reception? Where's the George Kittle touchdown? Drake London 2 for 3 and 15 is bad, even if even if it's a Kirk Cousins getting warm up into the league kind of thing, it's bad. It's 2 for 3 is like he should have at least 8 targets. If he dropped 6 of them, or Kirk Cousins is off target for 6 of them, whatever. But 3 targets is not what you want from your second round pick.
Yeah, absolutely a massive disappointment there for Drake London owners. The hype was higher than maybe it's ever been for him. So to come out week one and put up 3.5 points is depressing to say the least. But yeah, I know Chris was definitely beat up about Joe Burrow. I talked to him during the week, and he said Joe Burrow definitely screwed him over. So I know he's not happy about it, but he's debating on whether or not he should ride with Joe Burrow still, or wait until he stops being washed up for the first 4 games, like the Bengals always seem to be, and ride with Matt Stafford until then.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slow start for Joe Burrow every year. You think he got a full preseason and it should be, that's the difference. But there's an excuse every year, right? There's no, Burrow's injured. He didn't get the preseason this year. So, there's no T. Higgins. It's New England, guys. Like, at home. New England at home, week one. Like, you got to find a way to win that. If the Bengals are supposed to be a playoff contending team, and they're losing to the favorite as the worst team in the league and the Patriots at home, that's that's no good.
That's very bad.
That's no good. That's pretender. That's very, very bad. So, you know, if they warm up, great. If not, I don't know, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for the Winks to get it done.
Yeah, it was it was tough for the Bengals. It's tough for the women in the kitchen, the Winks, and they're gonna have to try to do better in week 2 here after that 0-2 performance. But like we were saying, these guys did both miss the median, and it was because of someone in this next matchup here, your matchup, Ricky, versus the Sleepers. You did win, but already did manage to, on Monday night, push the other two out of the median here, with Jake Moody racking up 37.3 points. He scored a total of 132. He was the 6th highest scorer and managed to beat the median at the very end there, but it wasn't enough to take you out. You took the lead early on Thursday and never looked back. Lamar Jackson doing great for you, Derrick Henry scoring that touchdown, and yeah, Cooper Kupp just putting the world on his shoulders after Puka Nacua left that game. 21 receptions. That is an insane number.
Yeah, I mean, to go out there and get, catch 14 for 21 and a touchdown, 110 yards, that's everything I wanted to see in week one from Cooper Kupp and more. I'm hoping he keeps like 15 targets going forward. I'd be happy with that. I'm not a greedy guy. But if you want to throw him 20 balls a game, go for it. I'm sad about the Puka news. I think it kind of keeps the offense like more lethal, more scoring opportunities. They like to throw the Cooper Kupp in the red zone. If Puka Nacua can march him down the field and then Cooper Kupp can mop it up in the red zone with a touchdown, I'm in for that too. I expected Puka to be here all season, so you might look at it and be like, oh, Puka goes away, Cooper Kupp goes up. I don't know, maybe marginally. I think Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson are going to do an okay job kind of filling in those Puka shoes. But yeah, this is the Sunday night game is where I went, okay, all right, like I've got the week. I had my 2 Lions going, I had Cooper Kupp going, and I was like, all right, I'm good. There was the game-winning touchdown from David Montgomery, and I was like, all right, I don't need to worry about Jake Moody, or do I? It was close. I was a little scared, but not too scared. Him kicking Nate out of the median is pretty comical to me. I mean, that's the Monday night kicker for you. It's spooky, no matter whose team it's on.
Yeah, it's legendary in this league ever since the year of the kicker, that Monday night kicker coming out and just putting up mad points. It's always frightening, and it could have happened to you here, but not quite. You also got Dicka to Kicka to kick you a 50-yarder, and made the difference there. You won by about 10. So it's like that.
Yeah.
That's really what kind of did it for you. And well, I mean, among other things, of course, Cooper Kupp scoring 32 is no small feat. But good win there. You both got that median win, and you weren't alone in our Crimson Chin division to have a matchup where both players beat the median. My matchup here versus the Land Manatees didn't end up so fortuitously for me as yours did for you, but I did manage to at least go 1-1 and score 139 points. Riley scored 168.5. It was the best scorer in the league this week, and he led the way with a massive performance from both his 49ers, Jordan Mason and Deebo Samuel. We got that late news that Christian McCaffrey was out, but Riley had already smartly picked up his backup, seeing that he had been questionable. So good on you there, Riley. It wasn't really the difference maker here. You could have taken 22 away from him, and he still would have won. So it almost makes it go down a little easier for me if he didn't have Christian McCaffrey and he still just whooped up on me. It would have. I mean, he did that, but I'm saying if he had a hole in his roster as well there, and I still lost it, it would have felt a lot worse, and he could have done that. So
You would have been much more stressed out during the Monday night game because it would have been, by the skin of his teeth that he would have been beating you instead. I mean, Jordan Mason, that's prepared manager right there. We talked about it a little bit on the last week's pod. Riley coming into the league after being, bottom two last year. He had to sharpen his fence a little bit. Keeping Christian's backup on your team, very good. It's reassuring for him, I'm sure, to see that Jordan Mason can put up a decent week. Sometimes these handcuffs, they come in and they put up like 8 points where Christian McCaffrey would have gotten 28. That's 22 out of a guy like that. That's great. He looked great. It kind of gives you that.
carries. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Joe Mixon. He had 30 carries. 28 is phenomenal. Anyone that's getting more than 20 is honestly good. So if you're touching 30 or close to it, that is elite. I mean, Alvin Kamara's down there with 15 carries and 5 receptions. That's 20. Look at him. He's doing great. It's 20 touches. That's what you want. So almost 30 is incredible. Would you prefer to have it on Christian McCaffrey? Sure, but Christian McCaffrey might have just done the same thing here. Who knows? Jordan Mason looked great. Maybe just less receiving work, but he said he's been working on that. So, I don't know. Good things to come. Happy that Riley and Lehman are both competitive this year, and comes at the expense of you and the Hogs. But I don't think you have too much to be sad about on your side either. You put up, you did your thing. You kind of got land manateed here a bit, but it's some bright spots for you. Plenty of bright notes on your side. Plenty to look forward to. Saquon Barkley. Let's talk about some fun Saquon Barkley stats. He's scored more touchdowns for the Eagles than Daniel Jones has for the Giants in the past 2 seasons. I think you were saying earlier that Daniel Jones has thrown more touchdowns to the defense than he has to his own players since signing his contract. The long story short, Giants down, Saquon up. We like to see it. Saquon's a guy I really like this year, and he's on your team. Congratulations. I'll trade you Derrick Henry for him any day. You just let me know.
No thanks. Yeah, I'll keep
No, come
Saquon
on.
highest RB starting RB performance of the week in the Dimmadome this week, so very excited about that. Yeah, Anthony Richardson putting up 30 points for me is very, very exciting. There was a lot of question marks around him, so to see him just only complete 9 passes for 212 yards while also running one in on the ground, that 80-yard bomb, 80 air yard bomb to Alec Pierce was a dime. And then he also just manhandled defenders himself. He's a do-it-all freak of nature, and I'm very excited to have him on my team. Seeing Devon Achane operate was sick too. I'm sorry, what was that?
Cam Newton 2.0, right? Like that's what everyone was like, hey, is this just the second coming of Cam Newton in his rookie season? And he took a year to get here, but he's here. I mean, that's what, like, of his 3 completed games, he's quarterback like 3 or better in all of them still. Like, that's insane. That's insane. He's the guy. He's got the juice. He's got the fantasy cheat codes. They lose to the Texans there, but like not by much, and who cares?
Yep, I don't care.
Yep.
This is fantasy football. That doesn't make a damn of a difference to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, good on you. Those 3 up top are going to be solid as long as they can stay healthy. Hopefully, Achane plays this week as well. But I think I'm a little worried because our divisions seem so strong. We're going to play all these guys 2 times, so I don't want to face Saquon twice this year, so trade him to me.
I won't be doing that at least this week. But yeah, it's like you said, I got things to build on here. Some disappointing performances at a couple guys, and then the Chiefs' defense just blanking me. Hurt a little bit, but I still feel good about my team. Got the median win, and looking forward to week 2 here. But that's finished with the Crimson Chin division, and we did the Crash Nebula division. That brings us to the Bronze Kneecaps. And let's start with the Stroud Boys versus Herbert the Pervert here. Eric versus Mike. And this was a matchup where Mike just got absolutely smoked here. This was a massive blowout. Almost, 51 points even of a difference between the 159 from the Stroud Boys versus 108 from Mike and Herbert the Perverts here. Justin Herbert, the eponymous quarterback of the Herbert the Perverts, was no match for CJ Stroud in the quarterback column, scored 10 points less than him there, only 12 points, really 144 yards and 1 touchdown. Not enough to do it in fantasy football as your starting quarterback.
No, not at all.
Didn't get it from Travis Etienne. Justin Jefferson was fine, but still missed his projections. Zay Flowers missed his projections by a little bit. Kenneth Walker was great, but then got injured. Kyle Pitts caught a touchdown and finished at projections, but Rome Odunze was not great and then also got injured. So, sad stuff to see. If you're Mike here, 107 points is not great to score. It's kind of like Alex's team. They finished right around the same spot, and you got a lot of questions that you have to answer moving forward here. And is Justin Herbert really my quarterback? Probably should be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that 13 points out of Herbert is going to be somewhat common this year. They won this game. They won on the ground. That's what the Chargers are trying to do this year. They're trying to win on the ground, and they did it against a good defense. A good Las Vegas defense with Max Crosby. So, if J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards can just run the defense, and Herbert just needs to dink and dunk a little bit, then that's what they're gonna do. I think Herbert can have high weeks. I just don't know when they're gonna come. I don't think anyone will know when they're gonna come. You'll have to be up against a running defensive wall. I'm not sure which defense that is this year, who's really good against the run so far, but, good luck trying to find the Herbert golden week here. Herbert's a great player. It's just the offense isn't designed for him right now. It's designed to run. On the other side of things, we got, 5 fine performance from C.J. Stroud, right around where he was projected. Brees Hall, Pacheco, they're doing what they need to do, and then Mike Evans with 10 more points than what he was projected for. That's what we like to see. 2 touchdowns. He looked like an absolute monster on the field. He's reaching out. He's just making defenders look like they're not there. I mean, it's Baker Mayfield said that they're not 50-50 balls with Mike Evans. It is always leaning Evans' way. I'd say it's probably closer to like a 70-30 split. Baker Mayfield's a great downfield passer. Mike Evans is a great contested catch guy. They're a match made in heaven. If those two guys are firing off all year, Mike Evans is going to continue to do this stuff. Huge Mike Evans guy. And he's a bright spot here on the team.
Yeah, a big part of this win for him, obviously he won by a wide margin, but again, Mike Evans is a big part of that, scoring 23 points. He just, ran through that one defender on that second touchdown reception. Strong hands, pulls it down. Yeah, like you said, 50-50 balls just don't look like they're 50-50 when Mike Evans is involved. Great performances all around. I have to note that Kaimi Fairbairn just came out and was drilling 50-yarders the entire time that Falcons or that Texans game was happening. And it's just, business as usual for teams playing against Mike. Their kicker has to have their best performance of the year. And this is no different. It looks like starting straight from week 1 in 2024. So, one last thing, Roquan Smith got the user pick. No one thought it was gonna happen this week, but it did. So, pretty cool to see there. It's just one of the nice little wrinkles of this IDP spot that we have. Seeing if your guy is the guy to get the random fumble recovery touchdown or random interception or tip ball or something like that. It's always fun just to be like, oh, that's my guy. But yeah, good on you, Eric. You picked the guy for week 1 out of all the guys that everyone else picked as well. So nice job there. But let's move out of that matchup and into our last matchup of week 1. And we talked about a blowout being bad, but it wasn't this bad. Our worst blowout of the week. Dylan with the special down scoring 66.78 points versus Lehman's Toaster Baths putting up 133.5. You could have doubled Dylan's score here and it still wouldn't have scratched what the median was or what Lehman scored this week. And it was sad across the board. There are no bright spots that you can pick out like anyone else's team. His number 1 pick, Marvin Harrison, only putting up 1.4 points. Tony Pollard being better than Tyjae Spears and pushing him out. Kyler Murray only scoring 15. DeAndre Swift only scoring 5. It was just bad across the board. You keep going. Dalton Kincaid with 2. Brandon Ayuk with 4. The Eagles defense with 1.
Yeah, I mean, if your kicker is the only guy in the green and it's 11 points, it's just not enough in this league. At least not in this week. I mean, it's bad. That's about as rough of a week 1 as you can have. Dylan said that his team was going to kind of get warm and kind of grow throughout the year. He said they were going, he's playing for late game. He's trying to win the league, but this is an ice cold start. This is a park your car in the garage because it's too cold outside for it to get turned over. Dylan's team is ice cold right now, so I think he either needs to make some moves or, him calling a shot that his team needs to get warm. It better be right. That's he was talking about nuking sleeper headquarters so they wouldn't put out the summary for everyone to look at because he's got all the wrong superlatives on there. It's bad. There's just no disguising it. I can't sugarcoat this and be like, well, Dylan's got to fix his roster, or he has to be right that it's just a slow start. And there's really nothing in between. On the other side, I'm very proud of Lehman. I brought up earlier with Riley. They come in the league last year. They get the shit kicked out of them. They come back. Both of them are competitive right away. Both of them are beating the median, beating their opponent. There's no poop hat picture from Lehman. That sucks. Don't do that, man. Lehman. I think it should be compounding interest. 1 point, 2 points, 4 points. Fibonacci's thing or whatever. go up the Fibonacci numbers or something. Something fun. Lehman, get your picture in. Stop that. But yeah, I mean, he's got strong performances from Josh Allen. I mean, he was in contention to be the game breaker this week. I think the only reason why he didn't kind of make the cut is because, yeah, it's Josh Allen. He puts up 34 points. Like, we kind of know that. Jaden Reed was more of a surprise. But Rashad White, still doing Rashad White things. I know he was a pick coming into the year that people were like, I don't know. Is he gonna do it again? He was so inefficient. But humbug, dude. Give him 21 touches and he's fine. That's the same for just about anyone except for Tony Pollard last year. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's good. It's great to see Lehman come back and compete in a league where, you take your licks last year. Everyone in this league's pretty good. We're all competitive except for Dylan. So, it's good to see Lehman kind of step up and Riley as well and be those guys.
Yeah, he definitely it's a massive turnaround from where he finished last year, coming in and beating the median and starting 2-0. Like you said, Josh Allen technically could have won Game Breaker if this performance actually meant anything in this game, but when you win by 80 points or whatever it was, getting 34 from your quarterback is kind of just a drop in the bucket there. So it was a great performance out of him and out of the rest of the toaster baths here, but yeah, really the main talking point of this matchup was just how bad the special downs were. So I'm sure he's hoping to see some different results in the future here. But
there's only one way to go, buddy, and it's up, right?
That's right. Well, we've gotten through the matchups here. Let's go ahead and see what kind of moves these guys could be making to fix these teams, or perhaps strengthen the ones that performed well as we move into our waiver wire and trades. Let's go ahead and do it.
Waiver wire and trades.
All right, we are back. I did fail to bring up this little chart here that shows everyone's efficiency for how they scored this last week. The special downs never had a chance. Even if they put in their best lineup, it wasn't better than anyone's current lineup. So tough luck to them there. But let's take a look, not at the standings, but at some waiver moves. There wasn't a ton this week. These are the ones that went through on waiver claims, and then there was a couple more moves made by Dylan on top there. Some other ones were that are not pictured were some defensive moves here. Just a couple individual defensive players aren't listed, but we'll see if those guys crack the starting lineup or not here. But let's look at these waiver moves. We have a couple to go through. I am right on top of the list here, grabbing in a lot of leagues what was the hottest target on the waiver wire, Isaiah Likely. I dropped Gabe Davis to accommodate him on my team. Welcome. As the 12th pick in the draft, I was the number one waiver, and I did not hesitate to use it on Isaiah Likely here. I figured even though I have Trey McBride, and I'm excited about him this season, Isaiah Likely looked great, and even if I don't feel like I need to start him every week, which who knows if I will or I won't, but even if I'm not starting him, just the fact that he can't be started against me now moving forward is a big deal. So I'm excited to have him, and Gabe Davis was just clogging up my roster anyway. So there was 5 claims put in for him, but I was the number one claim, so get out of here, everybody else. He's all mine.
Yeah, it must be nice to know that you're number one and you're like, yeah, I'm going to get the first guy week 1. The guy's going off the board. I think Isaiah Likely is a great place to spend your waiver wire position on. I think there's 2 cases here. Either Mark Andrews was just double covered and, really couldn't break free against KC. They just targeted him down and took him away from the offense, and Isaiah Likely benefited from that. Or, and what I think is maybe a little bit more likely, is that he is actually really good, and Mark Andrews can kind of phase out a bit. Maybe they share it a bit more. I mean, if you watch the game on Thursday, every time he touched the ball after the catch, it was great. I mean, that one play of him like running for the touchdown and he just stops up and the defender runs by him, that whole sequence of events is just fantastic for him the whole way. I think like the AWS said he had like less than a 3% chance of converting that. And he got there with athleticism, and that's what you want. If Mark Andrews does go down, great. If he doesn't, it's probably still fine. I don't know. I'm not completely out on Mark Andrews myself. I don't have any stock in him, but I think that he did do what he needed to in that game. He's just a result of game script where Kansas City said, "Fuck Mark Andrews, you got to beat us another way," and you can't because Isaiah Likely just isn't enough. He's got too big of feet.
Just one shoe size too big.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause he got like 33 points or something like that, right? And it was
It was
like
like
almost a
28,
40.
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was almost like a 40-point week from him if he just
Or 33, yeah.
got smaller feet.
Crazy.
It's crazy. So congrats to you for winning the lottery.
Woo!
We got some other talking points here. Madison, I think it was Artie and Riley looking to pick up Madison there. Las Vegas in losing games are going to be throwing the ball out more. Madison and Zamir White, who's it going to be? Well, if they're able to get the ball rolling on with the run game, it's going to be Zamir White. He's going to be the handoff guy. But when it comes to pass catching, Madison seems to have the lion's share. So great pickup there. Better than a Mike Williams dart throw at some point this season. The Jets, Rodgers did not look good enough. No, I'm with it. Drop Mike Williams for Madison. That's fine with me. Eric got his hands on the rookie Bucky Irving, dropping Curtis Samuel, who is not Buffalo's wide receiver. There could still be something there. I think with Buffalo, like Josh Allen only had 5 pass attempts in the first half. There isn't a lot of target share to go around when that's the case. So
yeah, I don't think Curtis played. I think he's been dealing with an injury or something too, or even if he was out there, it was in limited fashion. So
okay. I thought he had snap percentage, but
yeah, it wasn't a strong camp for him. Just dealing with the injury, and it seemed like Keon Coleman had the trust and they didn't make a lot of passes, like you said. So I'm with you there. Even though we were, I think we were saying that Buffalo could be a good investment in fantasy since these players have been somewhat nebulous. At least for now, I'm on board with getting rid of Curtis Samuel, especially in favor of Bucky Irving. I'm a fan of Bucky coming into the system. He caught the most passes as a running back in college football last year. So this guy has shown his versatility, and he continued to show it in week 1. Looked explosive and like a toolsy running back with a lot of speed. So a good pickup from him there. We also had the Chargers go in place of the Falcons for Lehman. I tried to put in a claim for the Chargers as well. They're playing against the Panthers this week, and the Panthers suck. So they're probably going to do pretty good.
Yeah, the Panthers are like the special downs of the NFL.
Oh, that's low blow, but not untrue.
Dylan is basically Bryce Young.
Oh man. The hits keep coming.
Yeah, I mean, they're merited. They're warranted.
He's trying to fix it here. He did make a couple moves right after waivers cleared just to not spend his priority. He picked up Tank Bigsby in place of Samaje Perine after seeing his efficient performance in the Jacksonville loss. Looked better than ETN in a lot of situations. If ETN didn't get the touchdown, I think there'd be panic in the streets. But nothing like that yet. We'll see if Tank Bigsby, if that was just a fluke performance, or if this is what he's been building to, and there's more to come there. But speaking of Jets receivers, he also picked up Alan Lazard after Artie dropped Mike Williams. I mean, Lazard had a big game this week. Even in that loss, he caught 2 touchdowns and has been a favorite target of Aaron Rodgers in the past, so looks to possibly be that way, moving forward as well, and might be a salve to soothe the aches of the special downs. But
Hey, he's got to get points from somewhere, right? I mean,
yeah,
one of Lazard's touchdowns was from Tyrod Taylor. Obviously, garbage time touchdowns count.
yep,
But I do think that it's not really going forward. Lazard's going to be the red zone guy. I think it's just kind of like let's get something on the board here with our B team, B stringers. Actually, it was just they just took out Rodgers. They left all like Garrett Wilson was in there, Lazard, all their starting wide receivers were in there. Just like we're not letting Aaron Rodgers get blown up week one again. Get him out of there.
yep.
Um, but yeah, there's some more moves that happened kind of off screen, like you were talking about. I haven't pulled up on the screen, but Brian Branch of Detroit went to Dillon as a defensive player. He got rid of Professor Legg and Evan McPherson in exchange for Group from New Orleans, who had a huge week one. The Hamburglar picked up Colby Parkinson at tight end to kind of help his depth there. Lehman dropped Antoine Winfield, who got injured as a defensive player, and picked up Khalil Mack instead. A lot of kickers and defenses here. The Lamb Manatees ended up picking up Juwan Jennings and then later dropped him in exchange for... Oh, no, I can't find it for... All right, the defensive lineman, Keon White of the New England Patriots. And then right here at the very end today, right before we started recording even, I think I kind of capitalized on the fact that Corey dropped TJ Hawkinson when he didn't need to. Corey, if you're listening, I think it was an oopsie. Yeah, maybe we could work something out. You could get him back. But but I picked TJ Hawkinson up off of waivers and just slid him into my IR slot. And then picked up Baker Mayfield as well, all at the expense of Darnell Mooney and Keaton Mitchell. So, I think those, my moves are pretty big, I feel like, but I didn't do anything when the waivers ran. I didn't win the lottery for likely, but yeah, that was really the only stuff of note this week was what we just talked about.
Yeah, Corey neglecting to use his IR slot is definitely a move. Considering he drafted both Hawkinson and Nick Chubb, you'd think he'd be...
And now he's got Puka.
And now he's got Puka. You'd think he'd be the guy utilizing the IR slot the most and begging for more of them. But we haven't seen a single player enter into that slot for him so far. Maybe he'll figure it out in the future. But that's the moves that we had this week. Hopefully that'll band-aid up some issues that people had or bolster their benches while their starting players continue to shine here. But like I said, that's all for the waivers and no trades after week one here, at least yet. We'll see if anything happens before the games start, but Ricky's always offering, so I'm
despite my best efforts. I've been in there. I've sent a couple out.
I'm sure something could get done soon.
Yeah, people got them in their inboxes. They know who they are.
All right, well, we've moved past this here. Let's go ahead and get into our projection preview, and we can talk about next week's games and what we're expecting coming up in week 2. Let's do it.
Projection preview.
Oh boy, here it is with the hog stink sign. I was
They smell.
I was trying to be the bigger man, and ignore the dead pig you have in the background of your video. For anyone listening on Spotify, he's got in his background a little toy stuffed pig with a skull on top of it, because he thinks he's gonna beat the ball hogs this week here. Let's save our matchup for the end before everything devolves too much into hurling insults back and forth. We'll wrap back around to that one and start with the toaster baths versus the women in the kitchen. A little bit of interleague play, inter-division play happening here already in week 2 for these guys. And Lehman looking to continue his winning ways. But even though the women in the kitchen come in not up in record, they do come in favored in points for week 2. It's projecting to be 132 points for Chris to 117 points for Lehman. And just a couple things to note about that here. Josh Allen playing tonight in Miami. If anything is going to come out of that offense, you'd hope it'd be in a high scoring matchup between these two. Sometimes these can explode into a ton of points, and both of these managers stand to benefit. Tyreek Hill is on the side of the women in the kitchen, so we'll see Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill in the same game
Jalen
there.
Waddle.
And then Jalen Waddle as well on Lehman's team. So a lot of interest in tonight's game. Will really set the tone for these two. And and even Khalil Shakir going in the flex slot. There's definitely a ton of action for them going tonight here, and it could make or break the entire thing for them. It won't be completely decided there. Got Harrison Butker and Rashee Rice, but there's gonna be definitely a lot decided there.
Yeah, I mean, if Lehman can get off to a hot start here by having the right piece in Josh Allen and the right piece in Jalen Waddle, then it's going to be really tough for the Winks to catch up there. I think Tyreek Hill and Khalil Shakir could both put up monster weeks, but they need to be the ones catching the touchdowns, right? If it's a Waddle week, I don't know. That robs Tyreek Hill food straight out of his mouth. So, he's going to hope that it's going to come down to who kind of outscores there in a lot of ways, I think. But I mean, this is a big deal for both teams. If Lehman can continue to hold as a winner, huge for him. And if the Winks can kind of come back and go even, that's going to be giant for their year. Kind of a race week 1.
Yeah, if anything, if you're Chris here, not only do you want to right your ship, but you want to stop the Toaster Baths from getting too far ahead. So definitely looking for a win. Not that there are weeks where you're not, but looks like he does have Matt Stafford fired up here. He's had enough of Joe Burr after 1 week. He saw a video on Instagram of Joe Burrow picking up a water bottle at an awkward angle, and his wrist looked weak, so Chris is out. He's not into it anymore, and he's going to wait until Joe Burrow looks like he's healthy again. And honestly, I don't know. I don't blame him. That looked pretty shit. That looked pretty shit week 1, so...
but revenge games are a thing, like bounce back games.
Against Kansas City?
Yeah. They're going to ball it out. I don't know. Hey, if Joe Burrow blows up for like 35 points on his bench, that is going to become the tale of his team this year. It's going to be, when do I play Joe and when do I sit him? Because Matt Stafford would have got him the win last week. He'd be 2-0 if he started Matt Stafford over Joe Burrow. Hindsight's 2020. Coming to the realization that, Joe Burrow does just slowly start off every single year after week 1 is just, it's the game late. It's tough.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to see. The projections are low right now for Lehman because he still has Njoku in as his tight end. So if he actually makes another move or just swaps Cole Kmet in, then his projections would go up a little bit here. But for now, he's not projected to sit on top after this one. And starting Justice Hill in week 2 is something that I'm surprised to see. I guess Chase Brown didn't do it for him, and this is kind of the option he has. But oof. Hey,
if you need a running back,
Ricky.
Where to go, Lehman. Okay, I'm sorry.
This podcast is not your space to advertise your team for trades.
My yum. Listen, I think Justice Hill got a lot of offensive attention last game because they were trailing from KC. Do we think Baltimore is going to be trailing Las Vegas in this game? I don't know. I think it's going to become just run the clock out with Derrick Henry and jam it down their throats. Justice Hill's definitely going to catch a pass or two, but I don't think we see a repeat of last week out of Justice. Um, that's my own personal thing, and you know, Lehman. I think that switching out Cole Kmet for Njoku is like the easy play for you here, but man, do we really want Chicago pass catchers week 2 after that week 1 performance, or do we want to wait until Caleb Williams, you know, steps into it here? I don't know. That's a tough call. That's your call. Um,
Yeah, not the one I would make. At least if I'm gonna weigh in on it, I'd probably go out to the waiver wire and see if there was anyone else I could
yeah,
find.
Lehman has, I believe Lehman has Jonathan Brooks in his IR slot right now, so he's unable to kind of put Njoku in there and make the easy play that way. So he'd have to drop someone and have to make a decision on that. But good luck both of you in your second week, and let's keep moving.
Yeah, let's move on to I'm Ron Burgundy versus Special Downs. Dylan is looking for a redemption after a disastrous week 1. But Nate is not going to hand it over freely. He's got mostly the same guys. He hasn't changed much from his week 1 win, but may need to look at other options for Jake Ferguson. I don't know if he did go and pick up Colby Parkinson, so I believe he does have a backup plan in play. But yeah, had to take out Jordan Addison after seeing that he had another high ankle sprain on the other side, and Jordan Love was his backup quarterback, but he won't be coming in anytime soon for him either. So already dealing with some injuries, but still looking strong. Jamar Chase, maybe with another week, maybe he's actually practicing this week. He can get back into the rhythm of things. We talked a little bit about the Bengals' struggles already, so don't need to dwell on that too long. It's going to be tough against KC. Nico Collins could put up another great performance versus the Chicago Bears, though their defense did look good in this last game, so could be a limiting factor. And then Monday night, having Slim Reaper, Devonta Smith, go against the Dirty Birds at home might be what he needs to polish this matchup off. What do you think we're looking at for Nate and Dylan here?
I mean, you just read through all that. I'm just so excited for football. You don't know who's hoping Joe Burrow blows up on the Winks bench. It's I'm Ron Burgundy. It's Nate. He was like, yeah, I would love for Jamar Chase to just drop 50 points here. Chris is in shambles. I'm up, but I and maybe my memory is foggy here. I think that the record between these two managers in particular, I think it's still incited. I think for some reason Nate just tends to kind of let Dylan take the win, which would be huge for the special downs here. Any sort of median or matchup win for the special downs is going to be like a light in the dark for them. Um, Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray got asked why he didn't target Marvin Harrison. He's like, nothing. There's nothing said I won't target him. It's just I throw it wherever the OC tells me to. Which is I don't know if that's concerning or not. I mean, that kind of sounds like they're doing like a first read offense,
He
which
literally
isn't
said
super complex.
it's not my job when he's the guy that throws the ball. Also, Kyler Murray is literally scrambling on like 60% of these plays. That's not a first read pass. That is not a first read pass when
But
you're scrambling in circles.
what if instead of a first read offense, it's an only read offense? They're like, listen, this play, it's going to Trey McBride. Find him.
Scramble until Trey McBride is open and then throw it to him. Is that the actual play? Maybe that is. Maybe they don't give him real plays anymore because he's just playing Call of Duty, so he doesn't study them. So they're like, look, you're throwing it to number 8 this time. Just to run around until he's open. And
Yeah.
and I mean, the baby just gets to work. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think against the Rams without Aaron Donald, we're gonna see James Conner do well here. And maybe it opens up the passing. It's kind of a chicken and egg thing where if James Conner gets going, and opens up the passing for Kyler Murray, do they then get to outperform the run game, or is it just kind of a moot point between the two of them? Is James Conner going to drop 25? Kyler Murray's going to drop 25, and Marvin Harrison gets 4 looks. I don't know, but we're looking for big things to change here in week 2. If anyone's clinging to the week 1 doesn't matter, everything's different week to week, it's gonna be the special downs here.
Yeah, the formula really hasn't changed much. He changed the kicker out, who was the one person who actually met their projections on his team last week, and he changed his defensive player out, hoping that maybe that's just the secret sauce that the rest of his team needs to perform. But either way, yeah, this Cardinals-Rams game is going to be inflationary to the median if it's high scoring, to say the least, but very important to these two managers regardless here. Let's move on from I'm Ron Burgundy versus the Special Downs and get to the Stroud Boys versus the Dogs. It's Eric versus Corey. In a matchup of CJ Stroud versus Patrick Mahomes here. Eric's going to be waiting until Sunday night to see CJ Stroud play against the Bears, but it's inside. It's a team that's certainly beatable. We'll see if they choose to just run the ball out and control the clock. If Caleb Williams is only putting up 83 yards or whatever the hell it is, then they might not need to score a whole lot of touchdowns to win this one. So that situation that we ran into with Dak Prescott this past week, it could happen for CJ Stroud this week, which wouldn't be great. But he's still favored to win here. Corey's, of course, still got Puka Nacua in his lineup and Noah Fant and the Tampa Bay defense. There are easy problems to rectify to boost this projection here. Yeah. And I have faith that he'll do it probably Sunday morning, but until then it looks like a pretty steep uphill battle for the Dogs.
Yeah, it's looking a little bit like Swiss cheese here with all the holes on its roster, but there's some wide receivers down below, on his bench that could promote up, get the nod over Nacua. You've got Rashid Shaheed, Xavier Legette, and Romeo Dobbs. Starting 2 Green Bay Packers with Malik Willis going seems so it'll probably be someone like Rashid Shaheed here for the upside. Although Xavier Legette looked good too. He was getting plenty of production going on. So maybe both guys get promoted. He takes Reed out, which would be a crazy play. But if Malik Willis is throwing to Reed, it could end up being the right play. How much of that offense is Jordan Love? That's the real question here for week 2. And is it just going to give Eric a nice, easy week 2 win? I talked about my foggy memory before. What my memory isn't foggy on is that Eric's schedule always feels nice. Every time I look at it, I'm like, damn, that's an easy matchup. Every time. Somehow. Facing a Dogs without a Puka is easy.
Yeah, if only we could all be so lucky as to play against our opponents when their star players and receivers, quarterbacks are all injured. But alas, that luck is only bestowed on Eric this week at least, and he's going to hope that Breece Hall and Isaiah Pacheco do pretty much the same thing they did. Mike Evans in a dome game versus Detroit. This has traditionally been a matchup that you want to try to hope for the shootout in. And maybe a little more production for Amari Cooper. The Browns looked absolutely terrible this past week, but how much of that was really the Cowboys defense making them look bad? It can't be all bad in Cleveland this year, right?
Bring back Flacco.
Bring back Flacco.
No, I mean I heard. I think. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name, but I heard like an old backup retired quarterback talk about Deshaun Watson. Not the Tom Brady on the broadcast, but someone else being like, hey, I've worked in that offense before. It would be really helpful if I could remember his name. But it's an NFL offense. It's a full-on NFL offense. It's good for people who can do NFL systems. And it just feels like Deshaun Watson can't do it. And that's why Joe Flacco last year was able to just step into it and be like, yeah, I can run an NFL offense. This is great. It's easy. Check this out. You just throw the ball to Amari Cooper and he wins. But Deshaun Watson, I don't know. He looks like he doesn't have two brain cells rubbing together when he's out there playing football. He's just kind of like, I catch the ball, I throw the ball.
Yeah,
Oops.
I heard a
I run off the
report
field.
that when the Texans drafted him, they were willing to basically implement his college playbook as their playbook, so he didn't have to learn another one, and that's why he had success. But when he went to the Browns, they're like, no, we're not doing that. We have an NFL offense that we made that we're going to use and you're going to learn. And he, so far, I don't know, hasn't learned it as well. So
Yeah,
maybe that's the problem.
Last year was like, oh yeah, Deshaun spent all offseason with the playbook, and it's like, okay, and then did what? Nothing. He sucks. He's ass. The Browns are bad because I think someone called into like the Cleveland talk show and was like, said the two quarterback ratings of Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson for week one, it's like 49 to 144. And he's like, oh, fuck, I can't do this anymore. He like walked out of his studio because Deshaun Watson's terrible. And they gave up Baker Mayfield because they think he's bad, but he's not. The Browns are just bad. I don't know. Bring back Joe Flacco, I guess, is whatever they want to say here. I've got some Amari Cooper stocks, and I want anyone but Deshaun Watson throwing to him.
Yeah, the Browns mismanaging their franchise. What else is new, right? Well, let's move on from the Stroud Boys versus the Dogs and talk about the 69ers versus Herbert the Perverts. Alex versus Mike here. We've got a projection total 126 versus 114 with the upside going towards Alex and the 69ers. Let's see if New Orleans actually stays in the game versus the Cowboys and forces Dak Prescott to throw the ball. Whereas on the other side, Justin Herbert has the Carolina Panthers, who the Saints just blew up this last week. So that could be, exactly the remedy that Justin Herbert needs to aid the perverts after a terrible week last week. A pretty interesting quarterback matchup there, but it's kind of not finished here. They got Ramondre Stevenson versus Kenneth Walker. If Kenneth Walker does play, which he's questionable, but they're playing against each other this week, so the run game on both sides of the ball here will be represented in this matchup, and they'll be looking for any of those ground touchdowns in that one. But he's going to be waiting to get the most of his ground touchdowns that Alex is until Bijan Robinson plays on Monday night. He's going to have to wait all the way until then to see the Philadelphia versus Atlanta game and get some of his star player points from his number one draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia against the Falcons for week 2. If you were like, oh, Kirk Cousins, like that's tough with the Steelers, maybe there's a bounce back. Yeah, Eagles are kind of tough too. I mean, and it's in Philly. So, I mean, that's not a good environment. It's not noon o'clock for Kirk Cousins. There's really not a lot in his favor. I mean, they were calling the noon nightmare in Minnesota because the games did start in noon, and now Atlanta, I think that's just Eastern Standard Time, right?
That's 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so maybe that's the difference here. Like, I'm a big believer in the noon nightmare scenario that he needs to perform. But primetime Kirk is not good. It hasn't been good. I don't think post Achilles primetime Kirk is going to be any better. But Bijan might just run the ball the whole time. To touch on the Herbert thing real quick, Carolina lost against the Saints, right, in week 1, and Alvin Kamara ran the ball, got it handed to him 15 times. When's the last time Alvin Kamara had 15 handoffs? It must have been working, right? Like, if Kamara is just getting the ball on the ground, then it must be working against the Panthers, which means J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are going to feast.
For a little bit of context, Derek Carr threw 3 touchdown passes in the first quarter, and I don't think the Panthers ever got a touchdown. So if that doesn't scream run the ball till the game is over, I don't know what does.
Fair,
So,
fair. That's fair.
I mean, Jamal Williams got like a rushing touchdown in that game. So they were just running. I think they were running every running back on rotation after they realized they just straight up didn't need to play anymore.
No, that's a fair point. I will take the L there. I forgot that Derek Carr just kind of slung a couple to Rashid Shaheed, and then they just kind of coasted because Carolina, you know, would be losing to college football teams if they played them.
Yeah, God. Yeah, with Bryce Young at the helm. At least if it was a college football team, he'd be able to see over some of the shorter players, unlike in the NFL here. But another cool element of this matchup here is that Dallas Goedert and Kyle Pitts are both also in that game and facing off against each other here in the tight end slot. So we'll see if really this Monday night is make or break for Alex, or if he's already got it locked up before then. Roma Dunze, yeah, Jake Elliott going as well. The big boot can't be underestimated. Was a big part of last season with the year of the kicker. Scored a ton of points, but yeah, Roma Dunze still slotted into the flex for the perverts. He's going to need to make a change there because Homie is not playing this week. I foresee some Xavier Worthy going into that slot. I talked a little bit to Mike after this past week, and he was kicking himself for not starting him. He said he talked about it all before the game started, how he wanted to start Xavier Worthy, and then he just chickened out of it. So I fully expect to see him in week 2 here.
Yeah, I think I caught a bit of that conversation in a Discord call. Chicken is a nice word compared to what Mike was calling himself. No nice words. He definitely regretted not starting Worthy. It wouldn't have made the difference, but yeah, Rome's gonna need some time to get warm. He's a playoff guy. He'll help you in the playoffs, I think, this year. Not week 1 through 6. So.
Yeah, he's gonna need some time to get healthy too. It looks like because they're already projecting him for no points, even though he's only got the questionable tag. I'm pretty sure he's as good as not playing. So, yeah, let's move on from the 69ers and Herbert the Perverts. Let's get to the Land Manatees versus Bill Cosby Sleepers. Two teams that are projected to score just about the same amount of points here. It's pretty neck and neck, but there are some concerns here, at least looking over it the first time. You know, was that Jordan Mason performance a fluke, or is he the real deal? We're definitely going to find out because it seems like Christian McCaffrey is a long shot to play in Minnesota for week 2. Speaking about running backs possibly being inconsistent, Javonte Williams has had an extremely hard time and didn't really look like the lead back in week 1. Jaleel McLaughlin looked more like the lead back there and looked better last season too. So a scary play there, but if I remember correctly, he didn't really have a lot of other options at running back. Yeah, he's out on starting Zamir White, at least to start. Picked up Madison, so now he has both options. I'd be pulling my hair out if I was him. There's no way you're going to start both of them, and you're going to always have to try to decide which one to start. And if it was me, I'd be making the wrong decision every week, because that's just always how it works.
It's an easy decision here. Look at their opponents. Are they going to be trailing? Well, it's the Cowboys. Yes, they're going to be trailing. It's Madison. It's Madison. And if they're going to play the Browns, it's Zamir White. You know, it's that easy. You're playing the Panthers, it's Zamir White. You're playing...
What about the
KC,
Ravens?
It's Madison. The Ravens, it's Madison.
All right.
They're going to put up points. It's Madison.
Should he fire up Madison over Javonte Williams, you think?
Yeah. Against Pittsburgh? Yes.
I agree. I agree. I would do that.
Who's he flexing right now?
Or Gus against Carolina.
Gus against Carolina is good too.
He's flexing Mark Andrews.
You could do that. Las Vegas is not going to be as good against the tight end as KC. You know, if you're ready to jump back into that, you go for it, man.
I think he's
But
got to. I mean, Mark Andrews is what, his 5th-round pick? It's not like you can just bench him after 1 week and move on. Like, it's... this is a big part of his team.
yeah, no, I agree. Hey, I'll send over Jaden Daniels for
For Mark
my
Andrews?
for my
Oh
tight
my
end any day of
god.
the week, buddy. No, we can make. Sorry, I'll stop talking trade. But talk to me. Everyone talk to me. I'm a good guy. I want to help your team be better and my team.
Mostly your team.
Mostly my team. But I'm always looking at others' needs when I'm doing so, okay?
Well,
Very generous.
for the land manatees here, they're gonna need to wait till Monday night to see Jalen Hurts play and finish scoring his points through the air and hopefully on the ground. See some good tush push action there. And maybe get some value out of McLaurin. It's supposed to be a year for him. Talk about needing, Jaden Daniels to do something. McLaurin is hoping to get some volume and finally get some touchdowns, which he's always been severely lacking in his NFL career so far. So, Sam Laporta playing at home versus Tampa Bay. That could be a very easily exploitable matchup. And Brandon Aubrey, I mean, he looked great last week. He's been kicking long field goals, and they're in the Superdome. Or no, they're in Dallas, but that's also a dome. So should have very little interference in trying to kick some more long bombs there. Jake Moody versus Brandon Aubrey. Is this the most exciting part of this match?
Brandon Aubrey's kind of him.
He is kind of him.
Moody's really good. I don't think there were any kickers. Oh wait, there was one kicker that missed like a pretty big important field goal last week. I forgot. Anyway, moving on. That's just a stinky hog, though. A stinky tuck you hog.
Yeah. It was a 50-yard field goal, and he did miss it. Justin Tucker, I can't believe that. That's
Both their you switched off, but it was Detroit Lions against Dallas that one of them was running up for defenses, and or sorry, it was Dallas versus New Orleans and Detroit versus Tampa Bay. I don't know. I don't think I like either of those. Well, maybe Dallas. I'd like Dallas there, but I think Tampa Bay is gonna put up some points on Detroit. That's an iffy one for me.
Yeah, we'll see if they can hold it together, or if Artie ends up making another move for a different defense. But for now, this is what he's got, and it may or may not be enough. But yeah, let's move on to our last matchup. And when I say our matchup, I mean it literally in this point here. It's me versus you. It's the Ball Hogs versus the Sorcerers. Anthony Richardson versus Lamar Jackson. And for anyone who's listening at home instead of watching, Ricky's holding up a handmade Hogs Stink sign that I'm being forced to read with a picture of a dead pig on it.
They stink. They're going down.
I don't think they do. Are you afraid of Brian Robinson running all over the Giants? I think they're going to get up early and Brian Robinson's just going to run the entire time.
Yeah, okay, same for Derrick Henry, except he's Derrick Henry.
Nah, Derrick Henry's he's just a piece. They just call him a piece again. It's not the same.
Yeah, when Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson just run all over the Raiders, it's going to be really good. And when Anthony Richardson goes to a at Green Bay game and it's low scoring and they don't need to run up the score at all. I mean, did they run up the score last week? Oh,
it was scored 22.
It was tight the whole time, right? Because it was Houston. Yeah, they're just gonna end up handing off to JT all game, man. They're gonna get up, and Green Bay's gonna be like, "I'm Malik Willis. I can't do anything," and then it's gonna just be like, "Here you go, JT. We're paying you enough. Just we don't want to hurt Anthony Richardson to win this game by 80 points." Maybe.
I think it's an important, especially if Jordan Love is going to come back sooner rather than later. The Packers were presumed to be a playoff caliber team, so you're going to want to pick up a win against them here as soon as you can, because that's going to be valuable.
They will, yeah, but they're just gonna not have to do too much to do it. That's all I'm saying.
It's just gonna be
And
free, and
then
they're just gonna walk right in.
yeah, I mean Devon Achane, if he plays, and it kind of looks like he will at this point. It
I
looks like
really
he's a
hope he
little
does
banged up.
play.
Maybe
Yeah.
he'll be on a pitch count, but he'll be explosive. It'll be good for you. David Montgomery against Tampa Bay, who just lost Pro Bowler Antoine Winfield on their defensive line, is kind of good. It's kind of a good play. The more I think about it, the better I like it. I think that game's going to be high scoring. If it's not, I'll be surprised. So, hopefully I can get another touchdown or two out of DeMont here. And then Cooper Kupp to DK Metcalf. I mean, what kind of comparison is that? Blech, DK, week one. Blech.
He's gonna be
Stinky.
fine. He was covered
Stinky.
by newly paid Patrick Surtain on the Broncos in week 1.
Patrick Surtain's really good.
Yeah, he is, and that's why his week 1 was stinky. But it's not gonna be like that every week, and this week is
Yeah,
no
not
exception.
not in New England. Their defense is bad.
Yeah. Well, you better hope that Lions game is high scoring because you got David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you're hoping that they both score a good amount of points there.
Only thing I'm worried about is Cooper Kupp not being needed when Kyron Williams just runs all over the Arizona defense. Hopefully, Kyler Murray can put up a fight.
You know what? For my sake, I hope he does. At least with Trey McBride, I hope I get a touchdown out of him or something. And I had to move Saquon down to the flex here because he's playing Monday night, and that's what you do. That's just standard fantasy football practice. So. Even though I got Brian Robinson sitting up here, and I'm doing two things here. I'm preparing for any inevitable injury news if in case something happens with the Monday night game, but also I'm inflating Brian Robinson. Go, buddy! You're an RB1, buddy. You're in the top spot, dude. You can do it, man. Come on, dude. And then some good old tuck you right at the end. What about that? What do you feel about that?
Okay. I mean, oh wait, they're not in the same game. I thought for a second. All right. So it's against Las Vegas, right? We're talking Baltimore versus Las Vegas. Listen,
Yeah.
that's going to be a big part of this week because either Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry are finishing drives, or Justin Tucker is going to be missing 50-yard field goals again. I don't know. I think that's a win for you if he hits it. Honestly, no. You're way far behind. My bad.
Yeah, I was
But
thinking 30 points.
but I think that Cameron Dicker against Carolina. I mean, they're gonna get up. They're gonna try to run out the clock. They're not gonna make it all the way down the field, and then Dicker's just gonna get him 3 points every time. It's exactly what New Orleans did last week. That's why
Groupie.
Groupie went fucking bananas. So there's that, and we saw Malik Neighbors' floor last week. Now he's up against Washington, who has a terrible, terrible defense.
The defense looked bad.
So, maybe we see some of his ceiling this week. And Nick Bosa is just going to, and the San Francisco 49ers are just going to eat up Sam Darnold.
No, Sam Darnold's going to be seeing ghosts again. Well, we're both heavily invested in seeing Deshaun Watson eat shit on Sunday.
And he will.
And he will. That dude eats sacks like nobody's business. So we're just going to be wondering, it's like, oh, was that Josh Allen or was that Foye Oluokun? But yeah, I mean, you also have Brock Bowers going in that Vegas Baltimore game, so we're both going to be watching that game with bated breath. And yeah, I'm hoping that every Ravens drive stalls and they just have to kick field goals all day. That would be really good.
Yeah, huge Max Crosby game. Max Crosby's good, but is he good enough for Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely?
Isaiah Likely, yeah. Oh, do I bring him out this week? Just,
I mean, do you so you can have just more and we can just be Baltimore versus Las Vegas, but a mixed bag?
Yeah.
Do you do it to cover the Lamar Jackson, touchdown throws? Do you get a piece like that? Or do you stick with T. McBee? Who knows? Or do you start Isaiah Likely and then it's just the Mark Andrews show and everything falls to shit and you're like, fuck. Damn, It's going to be good. All I know, the only absolute in this is that the hogs stink, everybody. Hogs stink. They smell. Smelly smellers.
Yeah.
Stinky boys.
All right. Well, that does it for this matchup here. We both know that I'm obviously going to win, despite being not favored in the projections here. We know the projections mean nothing. But yeah, that brings us to the end of our week 1 recap and our week 2 preview here. A couple quick notes to end the episode. I'm never a stickler about it, but I do just want to remind everyone fantasy football is not free. Please pay your dues. Only a few of you have paid, so definitely get those in. We didn't get any statements this week. I went around and talked to a couple of the guys, but if you want your statement read on the podcast, definitely send those in and call the Dimmadome voicemail hotline 252 DimmaVM. That's 252 DIMMAVM. Give us a call. We'll play it on the show. Haven't gotten any of those yet either, but looking forward to hearing from you guys soon. It was a ton of fun last time. You got
anyone that's listening this deep into the pod is welcome to call that line and give your input. We will play it, as long as it's not obscene.
I do listen to them first, so so I'm not just gonna randomly play if you're absolutely off the walls. But send us some voicemails. We love listening to them. Definitely thanks so much last week for tuning in. More of you watched and listened to even parts of the episode than ever before having one episode listened to. So I can't thank everybody enough. And if you made it this far into this one, thanks again. But until next time, guys, it's been the DFL Breakdown. We're both so excited to bring it to you every week, and this week is no different. Let's go, Ball Hogs. Sorcerers are going down.
Go, Sorcerers.
Let's do it!
You suck. You're bad.
You're bad. Get out of here. You're bad.
I'm top five.
Listening to the DFL Breakdown.
Fuck the Hogs.
Tune in next week for more.